All right, so next we talk about Piaget, of course, cognitive development. We have to bring in Piaget and where are we in the stages of development. Well, we have reached the final stage of cognitive development according to Piaget. We're now entering the stage of formal operational thought. This is the stage where we are moving away from just simple concrete operation, simple logic, into what he called abstract thinking and hypothetical thinking. So now I am no longer bound by or restricted by, I have to see it demonstrated in front of me in order to understand it, which was the middle childhood or the concrete operational stage. I am now moving into something that can be an idea that is hypothetically proposed, and I can imagine it, I can think about it hypothetically in my mind and create a conclusion or an opinion. Of course, with Piaget, he's always been known to devise an experiment to kind of test his hypotheses. And we saw it with the classification example in the middle childhood or the concrete operational stage. And for the formal operational thought, he proposed this experiment of balancing a scale by hooking weights onto the scale arms. And he saw how this task went from, just the simple balancing was not really a concept that was understood for a 3 to a 5-year-old. We have a scale in our preschool where we have the children put a number of plastic teddy bears in each side of the scale in the containers, and we try to get them to see how it makes a difference, how many you put in one side to the other. So this is a beginning concept that is evolving with 3 to 5 year olds. Then when you move into like a 7 year old and you're talking about middle childhood, you're now going to get a child who's able to balance the scale by putting equal amounts in both sides of the scale arms. But they don't really realize that the distance from the center makes a difference also. So by age 10, you will see that they start to experiment with moving the weight to the end versus to the middle. So it is something that can be acquired, but it needs trial and error, not logic. It's only after you enter the stage of formal operational thought that Piaget said that the adolescent is now going to start to understand the concept of the reciprocal interaction between distance and weight or heaviness. So they will be able to see that, for example, a heavy weight close to the center of the scale can be counterbalanced with a lighter weight far away from the center. So, this evolving ability to understand what happens if then is an indication to that higher level of cognitive development that Piaget talks about during those years. The hallmark of formal operational thought, he said, is the capacity to hypothesize or the capacity to think of possibilities, not just the concrete reality that I can see. So the hypothetical thought is reasoning about if then possibilities. So just like the example in the video that you will see below, asking a preschooler, if you hit a glass with a hammer, the hammer will break. The child will answer yes, because they have concretely seen that a hammer is heavy and it will hit a glass. But if you tell them, if you hit a glass with a feather, the glass will break. John hit a glass with a feather, what happened to the glass? It will be really hard for them to give you the correct answer, and that is the glass will break, because the original rule was that if you hit it with a feather, it will break. So this if then concept is not developed during those years. It's not until we enter into that concept of formal operational, where we can hypothesize or think in a abstract way about the if and the then, and give examples or give answers that might not be realistically possible or defy what we can actually prove realistically. So this is the hypothetical thought, the imaginary thought. Hypothetical thought is also going to allow the adolescent to be able to use what is called deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. One of those is actually been in the making. This is what is happening during the middle childhood years or the elementary school years. We use inductive reasoning a lot when we are learning in science, for example. We reason from the specifics to the general. So we can say that this is this creature waddles, this creature quacks, then put them together and the general would be this is a duck. So I can induce from the specifics a general idea or a conclusion. This is, we see this in the process of, let's say, a scientific experiment. So we do experiments, we do tests, we prove, and then we come up with a conclusion. The deductive reasoning is something that's going to evolve or start to evolve as we mature into the adolescent years. So I start to become able to reason from generalities, from a general sentence, from the top to bottom, into figuring out or deducing the specifics. So in the example of the duck, I might say something like, this is a duck, and since it is a duck, then it should quack and it should waddle. So going from the top to bottom or from the bottom up are two different ways of reasoning, and we see those employed in the way we teach curriculum during the middle childhood years, and then we progress into the adolescent years.